I love my job. You know, I have many other possibilities in my life, but I love what I do at Inchcape, and it's a decent company. It's a honourable company, you know, and they do take care of the people, and it's filled with opportunity, you know. And an agent is connected to so many things.
True.
And it's such a global nature of the job that I love, because every single port almost that 850, I know them all. And
true.
that's a unique synergy that I have with the job, you know, that I happen to have been to most of those ports or been to most of those countries, you know, and we have offices in those countries, and each country has their own culture and way of working. And when you know how that is, you can get by easier, you know. So that's why I love the job, and I love the nature of what Inchcape does for shipping, because shipping is a critical function of life, you know, because everything in this room was shipped here, you know.
True.
These microphones, your laptop, your Apple Watch,
True.
you know, my jacket, this was shipped from India. So the table, every item is shipped, and we make the world go round. And we learned that in COVID, when you restricted those supply chains, look what happened. Food is shipped.
True.
Everything. We are the lifeline of everything. And what is important when you're moving around goods, what's the most complicated part? It's called the last mile.
The last mile.
The last mile. Getting it, the item on the ship and getting it off the ship. The rest is easy.
True.
The last mile is the most important thing. And that's what we do.
That's where you come, yeah.
We're the glue that puts that last mile together, because it doesn't always fit.
True.
It's like a gangway that doesn't quite fit, and we're the glue that just makes it work.
Extension ladder.
Yeah. Yeah, well, many times we have to make them, you know. If we know a ship's coming in and it doesn't work, we have to make a gangway, for example. We have to take the specifications, figure it out.
True.
So every problem you can have, we have to try to fix.
True.
And you can't automate an agent, you know, because it's so complex, you know. And
every ship has different issues, different problems. Yeah.
Yes, and that's our value. And we must try not to be reactive, to be proactive, to stop the thing happening before it happens. But sometimes you just cannot anticipate. And the power's not always in your control, so you need to respond.
True.
And, you know, so as an agent, that's what we do. And that's what makes it exciting and being involved, especially in the cruise industry, because you're not dealing with cargo.
Yeah, you're dealing with people.
You're dealing with people.
Yeah.
And
it's much more sensitive than dealing with cargo, because cargo is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super. And so, but we have a love for the job. You know, many of us have been in Inchcape many years, and we love what we do.
So Holmes, you're also the VP of super yachts. So what do you mean by super yachts? And because that's more glamorous and more luxurious than the cruise ships, right?
Well, yes and no. I mean, but people ask what's the difference between a super yacht and a cruise ship and how it's operated.
No, it's different, right?
No, the operation, that's the main difference. For example, a cruise ship is a set itinerary that's sold in a brochure in advance to passengers, to guests, we call them. Whereas a super yacht is two possibilities. Yeah. It's owned, so it's for private use, all the guests of the owner.
Oh, yeah.
So it's operated differently. But it could be chartered.
Okay.
But then it's a full charter. It's sold individually. That's the difference.
It's a full charter.
Full charter, yeah. Many super yachts are the size of cruise ships.
Oh.
There are cruise ships smaller than some super yachts. You can get super yachts, I think the biggest at the moment is 188 meters, but soon will be 200 meters. And I know cruise ships of 110 meters.
Yep.
So, you know, it's just differently operated. But when you look at a super yacht, it looks like very large. I say a super yacht, like more than mostly 50 meters, but at least super yachts are like more than 100 meters or 75 at least.
Yeah.
And they're big and they look like cruise ships.
True.
So they're operated differently, and that's the main thing about it. And you have a more intense operation because when you're dealing with multi-millionaires that own the super yachts and the entourages or the yacht management companies that have to manage that yacht, the demands from the owners and the guests, rightly so, are extreme in some cases. So they want everything now. And the planning cycle is a lot less. Everything is planned on a cruise ship. Everything.
So you're saying super yacht things can be flexible.
Yeah, but then the owner says, I want to go here tomorrow.
Yes.
And they will suddenly leave and you have to get a clearance. And then they want to go somewhere where you have to organize the entry. So it's very much as the owner feels like doing. They make their own itineraries up because they are free, because they own the yacht. They don't have to publicize it.
Yeah, true.
And so that demand becomes very critical
Specific,
because it's just now that they want it. I want 50 bottles of champagne now. I need 50 Wagyu steaks now, and that that demand for now can be challenging in some locations, So those destinations, especially in the Mediterranean, that learned how to deal with these demands for now in high luxury, because you're dealing with ultra high net worth people, they learned how to manage that. And that's same for agents.
Which is the largest or let's say biggest super yacht hub of the world?
Well, it's in south of France.
South of France?
Yeah, yes.
Not Montenegro?
And no. Montenegro is a hub,
It's a hub, but not for super yachts.
Yeah, for super yachts. It's usually, it's France, Spain, Italy, and Greece. Greece is a major hub as well. It depends on the year, Costa, the typical places, Saint-Tropez, Costa Smeralda, Barcelona, or at some point they were going to go there, and of course Croatia, Montenegro, Turkey. Yeah, but Mediterranean is, the ocean or the sea of super yachts, and for the summer of the northern hemisphere, and then in the winter they might go to Caribbean, they might come here to the Arabian Gulf, so they will come, but the Mediterranean is the king of the super yachts, and then that's spread between France, Italy, Spain, Croatia, Greece.
So, would you like to name
Monaco, of course? But I include that in France.
Italy, that's there.
South of France, Monaco, south of France, Saint-Tropez, and all that.
So, tell us some interesting story from super yacht. Anything that you have in mind, or anything that comes that you handle.
There's a lot of stories I can't speak of.
Okay, anything
public
that you can.
domains. I think the World Cup was my greatest moment and memory. We had 36 super yachts and cruise ships during the World Cup, the entire World Cup.
Where was it? Dubai?
In Qatar.
Qatar.
In Qatar, and I worked hard for the World Cup Supreme Committee. We had exclusivity in Doha, Old Doha Port, which is a super yacht destination now, wonderful destination. And we saw it was an old commercial port, not looking good, and all the traffic was moved to Hamad Port, and then they completely reconditioned it. But everything was going towards the World Cup. It had never been tested. Yeah. And we had to do that live, and we had to find water piping, fresh water, barges. We had to fuel the yachts. We had to make fueling stations. It was very challenging. And it was all, 11th hour because they needed more accommodations and they needed more yachts. And we had 36 overall. So it was
36 super yachts.
Yeah, incredible feat what we pulled off. And then, we had some celebrities there from Monaco. We had
you don't want to name
government officials. I cannot mention.
Yeah.
And there was a great atmosphere. And it's the first time, because I always said to the industry that luxury cruise ships are similar to super yachts. And I could show you a cabin of a luxury cruise ship and a cabin of a super yacht. You won't know the difference.
Wow.
And in some cases, the cruise ships are better. So it was a great feeling for me in the World Cup when we could place luxury cruise ships next to super yachts.
Okay. Yeah, it's the same
Because
domain. Yeah.
everybody saw them as the same for the first time.
Correct.
But they were not the same. They were, we had beautiful Ponant ships. We had the Emerald cruisers there as well, the Azura, and next to super yachts. And you would not know and we took aerial plan views of it all, beautiful, stunning views.
Are there any videos online?
Yes, you'll be able to find.
Yeah,
yes,
I think
yes.
I should
I can get one. I have one.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
What you need to do is go to the Old Doha Port website, and you will be able to see. Hopefully, still they have it. The World Cup scenario of all those ships in port. It was a magnificent view, and then on board a cruise ship, a luxury ship, facing all the super yachts. Ponant was a French ship, and France were in the final. And I watched the final of the World Cup on a French ship.
Wow, lucky man, super lucky.
They were losing, and then they scored right at the end.
Must be super party, yeah.
And it's the first time a Frenchman's ever bought me a pint. So there was a great joy, but of course Argentina won in the end.
Yeah,
and it was a great sadness on board. But those moments of up and down were incredible because we were watching it with the French crew. So that was.
You understand French a bit?
Yes, I do. Yes,
Wow.
I speak Spanish and Portuguese and Italian. So French is not so far removed, and I could understand everything. But they all speak English.